So in this session, we will be understanding about Kubernetes architecture in detail. But before we go to Kubernetes architecture, so let us try to recap for a quick 2 minutes about what is Kubernetes. So as we mentioned in previous sessions, Kubernetes is orchestration engine. We call it as a COE. In the full form, Kubernetes is called COE, which is called Container Orchestration Engine. Okay, Container Orchestration Engine. And the orchestration engine will be helpful to manage group of containers created as replicas. In Kubernetes world, the containers are called as the replicas, right? We call it as a group of replicas. Kubernetes is one of the open source orchestration engine. Of course, there are competitors available in the market. Best example, Docker Swarm was one of the orchestration engine. I have Kubernetes, and we have one more orchestration engine called Apache Mesos. This is also one of the orchestration engine. But out of all these, Kubernetes has become very popular because it has its own advantages, of course, disadvantages also. But you have more advantages in terms of managing huge number of containers. So Kubernetes was initially developed by Google, and later on it was donated to CNCF. So right now it is managed by CNCF. And as I said, it's a freeware, it's a community. You can also participate developing any features or changing anything. Equally, you can also use it for free of cost, as simple as you install other tools. Right? That is about brief about Kubernetes. Now, Kubernetes architecture. Okay. So Kubernetes architecture, if you remember the architecture of different tools like Docker Swarm, Ansible, Jenkins distributed architecture, more or less all these tools architecture, high level architecture look the same, but the internal components of the architecture may be different. So now let us try to understand, okay, Kubernetes architecture in efficient way, right? So Kubernetes has mainly multiple components here. The first component what I have is the master component. You call it as a master node. You call it as a master node. Okay. This is the main node where you will be installing Kubernetes. You will be installing Kubernetes software. So where Kubernetes is running, you call it as a master node. Now, using master, right, we will be able to control multiple nodes here. We will be able to control multiple nodes here. This is first one. Okay. Second one. This is like this. I'm just taking an example of 3 nodes. Of course, you can manage any number of nodes. Okay. And technically, these nodes are called as worker nodes. That is a worker node, which is called master node and worker node. Usually, in an architecture, we can have one master node and we are going to have multiple worker nodes. Of course, we will discuss later. In Kubernetes architecture, you can have multiple master nodes also as a failover concept and high available concept. We will get into that later. But this is how the standard architecture look like. All right, good. So as a Kubernetes administrator, now how do you start working? So you have architecture like this, right? So how do you start working? Let's imagine if you are a Kubernetes architecture, you will be able to interact with the Kubernetes. You will be able to interact with the Kubernetes using different channels. So those channels are technically Okay, those channels are technically, right? This is called CLI, which is command line interface, and this is called dashboard. Okay, so one is a graphical mode, one is a command mode. Graphical mode and command mode. So technically, this command mode, officially we are supposed to call it as a kubectl. It is very simple, guys. Kubectl in the sense Kubernetes control. Okay, Kubernetes control. That's all. That is called kubectl. Right? kubectl. All right. So now, as an administrator, using your laptop, either you can communicate like this, okay, or you can communicate using either of the channel, okay, either of the channel. Now we have two channels to connect it. One is the command mode, which is called kubectl, which is Kubernetes control. And second thing, you have a dashboard. Remember, we have a Jenkins dashboard, AWS console. Okay, you have a dashboard to access it, right? Manage it. Similarly, Kubernetes also provides dashboard option. This is one of the difference, guys. In the Docker Swarm is also an orchestration engine, but Docker Swarm never provide any dashboard. Okay, but Kubernetes provides dashboard. You can graphically manage the resources, but it's not fully equipped, by the way, but you can do to that limit. But most of the time we will be using kubectl, very effective mode of communicating with Kubernetes. So command line interface, we are going to practice it. We need to learn it. All right. So as Kubernetes administrator, as I told you, you will be accessing Kubernetes using multiple channels. One is dashboard, one is kubectl. Now the question is, as an administrator, when you access your Kubernetes, which component will be receiving your request? Guys, this is where you have one of the interesting component. You have one of the interesting component called API server. You have one of the interesting component called API server. API server. This is called masternode. All right, good. Now you can either go to, if you as an administrator, if you interact with the kubectl, of course, kubectl again comes and interact with the API server. Either in the dashboard also, if you try to access, it will also interact with the API server. So either of the ways, it will communicate with the API server. It will communicate with the API server. Good. So guys, remember, let me give you a small brief about API server. This is the main component in the Kubernetes where all the integration and communication across the Kubernetes will be happening through API server. Remember. So when you say across Kubernetes, it is something called across Kubernetes cluster. Guys, remember, when you talk about Docker Swarm or Kubernetes, any orchestration engine, by default, what gets created is a cluster. By default, when you set up, cluster will be created. Of course, first of all, orchestration engines works on clusters only, right? So when you say Kubernetes, it's a Kubernetes cluster. So either kubectl or dashboard, both of these components will be interacting with the API server. That is, for that matter, in Kubernetes cluster, any component will be communicating with API server only. This is one of the central component in masternode. One of the central component in the masternode. Okay, good. Now let's move on to the second component in masternode. That is something called scheduler. That is something called scheduler. Okay, guys, let me explain you. This is also very, very important. See, when you perform any deployment on Kubernetes cluster, for example, there will be 6 replicas need to be created. In the deployment, you mentioned replicas as 6. Let's say 2 plus 2 plus 2 something. Not exactly 2 plus 2 plus 2. Don't think like that. Let's assume that 6 replicas you are trying to give it. Now the question is, in Kubernetes cluster, always replicas will be created on the worker nodes. So how many worker nodes you have? There are 3 worker nodes in this architecture. There are 3 worker nodes in this architecture. Now, where these replicas will be created? Are they going to create on worker node 1, worker node 2, worker node 3? It is not our choice. So who will be deciding? Scheduler will be deciding. So scheduler is the component which will be deciding where your replicas will be created. Guys, Kubernetes works in a different way in terms of creating replicas on which node. Remember, in Kubernetes deployment, when you try to give 6 replicas, in Kubernetes deployment, when you try to give 6 replicas, where those 6 replicas will be created, that is a point here. Where those 6 replicas will be created, that is a point. Guys, never think in your Kubernetes architecture, if you have 3 worker nodes, never ever think that 2 plus 2 plus 2 will be created. It will never happen. Okay, what scheduler will do? It will go check the first worker node and understand the configuration. Okay, this guy is running with what configuration? For that configuration, how many replicas it is supposed to be created? So best example, so I'm giving total 6 replicas. So if my worker node is capable of handling all 6 replicas, yes, in this case, of course, all 6 replicas will be created here only. All 6 replicas will be created here only. So in the worker node 2 and worker node 3, no replicas will be created. In case if first worker node is capable of running only 4 replicas, then in that case, 4 replicas will be created here, and then maybe another 2 replicas may be created in second node. Okay, but never ever think it is always divide equally. 2 plus 2 plus 2, it will never do. Now the question is, guys, who will be deciding that where these replicas need to be created? Guys, I'm using a term called replica, but in the container world, containerization world, you can also call it as a container. But if you talk about Kubernetes world, you call it as a pod, POD pod. I will be discussing later. Okay. So, but for now, please understand it's a replicas. You can understand as if it is a container or pod, but actual meaning is pod, but in the cluster world, we call it as a replica. Okay. For now, till I explain further, container, pod, replica. Please treat as the same, but there is fundamentally difference. I will tell you later. All right, good. So scheduler responsibility is that which will be deciding where these replicas will be created. Of course, now how scheduler communicate to worker nodes? So again, you are going to use the same concept, guys. Your scheduler keeps on interacting with the API server. Your scheduler keeps on interact with the API server. Now your API server will be interacting with the worker nodes. Now your API server will be interacting with the worker. So guys, as I told you, API server is one of the main component. Okay, API server is one of the main component where the integrations and communications happens in the Kubernetes cluster. Guys, now I'm going to ask you a question. Your scheduler will be deciding where your replicas will be created. Are they creating on worker node 1, worker node 2, worker node 3? Where are they getting created? Where are they getting created? All right. And first of all, if scheduler or API server want to communicate with the worker node, okay, how do they know that first of all those worker nodes are active? Who knows? Out of 1, 2, and 3, maybe one is down, two is down, or all three are down. So how does it happen? Guys, remember in Kubernetes, I was mentioning in previous sessions, Kubernetes has very good monitoring mechanism, correct? Very good monitoring mechanism. So what we'll do in Kubernetes cluster, that is in the architecture, how many nodes you have, all worker node status will be maintained in one of the component, and that component name is called etcd. You call it as a HCD. You call it as a HCD, but you can also call it as a etcd. Guys, remember etcd more or less like a storage for Kubernetes storage, where all the worker node status will be shown. The cluster status, all the worker node status will be storing into etcd. It is like a storage for Kubernetes. So cluster status, how many nodes you have, what is the status, all the information will be maintained into etcd. Of course, etcd also will be keep on communicating to the API server. It will write the data and technically it will also read it. Okay, the two-way communication happens between HCD and API server, etcd and API server. All right. Now moving on to third component. Guys, Kubernetes has one of the beautiful feature which is called self-healing. For example, in this scenario, we are running with 6 replicas. That means 6 containers or 6 pods. Let's assume it. Okay. Now, for any reason, if one replica is down, okay, immediately it should bring up alternate replica, because Kubernetes by default maintains the desired state. When you say desired state, you are giving 6 replicas, that is the desired. So any point of time, Kubernetes will try to make sure 6 replicas will be running at any cost. 6 replicas will be running at any cost. So for any reason, if one replica is down, Kubernetes will immediately bring up another replica, make sure that 6 replicas runs always. And who will be initiating this process? Who is responsible to do all this activity? Guys, this is where I'm going to talk about another interesting component. This is called controller manager. Controller manager also technically interact with the same API server. Controller manager also try to interact with the same API server. Okay, and it will make sure if any replica is failed or down for some reason, it will insist another replica to be up. So this is the responsibility of the controller manager. Guys, in the latest versions of Kubernetes, if you go to little old versions, of course, now another component I'm going to discuss, it is not there in the previous versions, but in the latest versions, of course, you have this component as well. And this component name is called Cloud Controller Manager. Cloud Controller Manager. And this guy is also interacting with API server. This guy is also interacting with API server. Okay, so Cloud Controller Manager is mainly to deal with the cloud components, cloud resources. So before versions, the controller manager used to manage everything. But in the latest versions, the responsibilities are divided and one more component introduced, which is called Cloud Controller Manager. Okay, guys, pretty quick. I'm going to recap, but I'll go little fast. As a Kubernetes admin, you can always interact with the Kubernetes cluster using two channels. One is kubectl, which is a command line interface. Second one is a dashboard. Of course, kubectl is most effective, and we are going to use to interact with the Kubernetes. Now, where Kubernetes is installed, that node is called as a master node, and master node has mainly 5 components. First one, API server. It's one of the main central component where all the communication and all the integration happens. And any other component in Kubernetes need to interact with the API server. This is one of the main component, which is a central point. Now, scheduler. When you perform any deployment where the replicas need to be created, your scheduler will be verifying the worker node configuration, and based on worker node configuration, how many replicas it can be. For example, if your first worker node itself will be able to handle all replicas, yes, it will create all replicas in the same node, but it will never divide equally to all nodes. Kubernetes does not work in that way. Next, etcd. In the Kubernetes cluster, how many worker nodes you have, the whole cluster status will be maintained in etcd, and this is one of the storage component for Kubernetes. And controller manager. So if you have, let's say, 6 replicas available, for any reason, if one replica is down, it is supposed to bring up another replica. Okay, that instructions will be passed by controller manager, and controller manager also interacts with API server. And now in the previous versions, both for non-cloud and cloud components was managed by controller manager itself. But in the latest versions, your cloud resource component is separated, and you have a component called cloud controller manager. So these are the 5 components we have in the master node. Now, moving forward to worker node. Of course, your worker node is also important, undoubtedly. Your worker node is also important, undoubtedly. Okay. So in the worker node, what you have something called main Docker component. Okay, Docker component, because your number of replicas or pods, technically containers also. Technically, containers also need to be running in the worker node. For that, you're going to have the Docker installed on the worker node. Because when you talk about container, pod, replica, whatever, of course, there will be container. So how the container will be created, how the container will be running, it definitely required a Docker support, right? So you're going to definitely install Docker Engine. Guys, I'm taking only one node example I'm writing here, but whatever I'm writing here for one node, it is there for every node. So technically, even this node has the Docker Engine, and even this node has the Docker Engine. Okay, this is the same. So that means every component I'm writing here, it is applicable for every node. This is the Docker. Okay. Guys, now in the worker node, as I mentioned, you have a replicas or pods running, correct? Replicas or pods running. Now, how do we make sure those replicas are effectively working? Who will be monitoring it? All replicas are, because your controller manager decides to bring up another replica in the case of one replica down. But the question is, how that replica is done, how does it know? Who will be monitoring it? Guys, to perform efficient monitoring in every worker node, you have one of the very interesting component. You have one of the very interesting component, and this is called kubelet. And this is something called kubelet. So what is the kubelet component will do? It will actually perform the efficient monitoring, and it makes sure all the replicas are running fine. And if any replica is down for some reason, it will immediately pass on that instructions to the controller manager, and controller manager will again intimate information back to the API server, and API server will pass on instructions back to the node to bring up another replica. That is how the communication happens. Okay, replica monitoring by kubelet. Kubelet pass the information to API server. API server interact with the controller manager. Controller manager thinks about necessary action, pass on back instructions to the API server. API server again interact with the worker node and then bring up another replica. That is the process happens. All right. Now, any services running, any replica running, any services running, you can expose that service to outside. And to expose the service outside where people can access the service running in node, by default, there will be one of the component called kube proxy, okay, which will be helpful to expose the service which is running in the worker node. This is mainly like as if like your load balancer, or how do you access your service, or how do you access your container. Similarly, in the Kubernetes, you have the one of the main component which is called kube proxy. So kube proxy is the component to help you to access the service running in worker node. Kube proxy. This is for communication purpose, access purpose, accessing purpose. Okay, good. Guys, in the worker node, when you perform the deployment, there are many more components will be created. I will be taking that as a separate session. You have something called deployment, services, replica set, replica, that is pod, inside pod container. There are many components will be created. I will be taking that worker node in detail deployment process and deployment components. I will be taking as a separate session. But for now, let us understand about the Kubernetes architecture. Guys, these are the important components in Kubernetes. I hope you understand the architecture. So worker node components, let me explain one more time. Every worker node should be installed with Docker Engine because you have the container or pod or replica running. So how the container is created, how the container will be performed will be help of Docker, with the help of Docker. Kubelet, how many replicas we have in the worker node? All those worker node, all the replicas will be monitored by the kubelet. There will be in detail monitoring. Okay, every check. I will be talking about a concept called probing later. Probing is very detailed monitoring happens in Kubernetes. I'll be discussing more later. So it performs a huge number of steps for monitoring and make sure the replica is running as expected. If replica is not running, it pass on that information to the API server. In turn, it will go to the controller manager. And your controller manager thinks about necessary action to correct it and pass on back the information to the API server. And API server is again back communication back to the worker node, and it will communicate. And kube proxy, any service running in your worker node, if you want to expose that to outside, how the communication happen, how do we access the service? You can expose that service using a channel called kube proxy. See, kube proxy is also a communication channel, but it will be at every worker node level. Every worker node level. So guys, what are the components I was talking about here? Docker Engine, Kubelet, kube proxy. All these components available in every worker node you have in the Kubernetes cluster. That is, you have in the Kubernetes architecture, right? So this is the architecture of Kubernetes, guys. Okay, when I call it as a Kubernetes, also think I'm talking about Kubernetes cluster. This is how it works. Any number of worker nodes you can have. There is no limit. All right. Previously, there was a limit of 5,000. Of course, even now, Kubernetes documentation says 5,000 worker nodes you can have it in the cluster. But imagine 5,000 is too much because every worker node will be running with multiple replicas, right? Imagine one worker node contains huge number of replicas. You can imagine 5,000 worker nodes, how many replicas you can run. It's a huge. All right, good. That is about Kubernetes architecture, guys. We can take further about different components we have that will be taken as different sessions, but that is all I wanted to cover for Kubernetes architecture.